Hey, everybody. This is we're one half of Land Between Two Rivers today. We've got some people out through circumstances beyond our control. We wish them well and Godspeed in their journeys, Lindy and Ana. And some of us feel a little under the weather. So we thought, what better time than to bring you and Ask Me Anything, just to sit and chat with you guys for a while, ask us questions about the game, ask us questions about our side projects that you might have found out about and are interested in. Really, we're here to just like hang out with you guys and chat and just fuck around for a while. That, of course, is all brought to you by our sponsor, Tabletop Loot, who has dice and t-shirts and mugs and more for all your gaming needs. So be sure to check them out and use our coupon code to get a discount while you do. So, guys, we've got some of your questions already. We'll start working our way through them. We're just gonna, we're not here to solve world peace or anything. We're here to fuck around and talk about D&D and shit. So
yeah.
So anyway, here we go. I guess first off, though, how's everybody doing? How are our players over here?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll take it.
I'm doing great. Because Jim Davis, so outrageous, goodness gracious, it's contagious. Goblins making crazy rhymes about the party, looking fine. Ellie, Icky, Mirbaloo, and there's Gilded, it's so true. We're the masters of the waste. All the baddies lose face, and our speed they cannot pace, so they struggle in the chase. River Sandwich is the land, caught between some yellow sand. If you fight us, we take a stand, and you'll feel our sun-kissed hands. Now we got it in this rant. You can't stop us, no you can't, but you can all join the chant, dropping rhymes with Bad Boy Grant. Drop it like I'm sorry.
There you go. I know you can't help yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I was like,
you got a very specific kind of Tourette's.
I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I just pictured Jim's face. I was like, Jim Davis.
Uh-huh.
Goodness gracious. Oh, that's a start.
There you go. That's how it starts.
Oh, okay, so that wasn't freestyle then, Grant?
No.
Okay, good. I was about to be like impressed.
I'm not gonna lie, like that's probably the best one you've done so far. Yeah. So I was like, it's very like cheerleader, so I was into it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, me too. I was like,
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't mad.
All right.
It's a bop. I mean, that stuff.
Oh my God, you guys have already given us this stuff to talk about. TK, how are you? Are you doing all right? I love your new setup.
Thank you. Look, my weeaboo room. Yay. John was mad because the thing is covering up his Kenshin wall scroll. Like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you would disrespect.
Yeah, well, it happens.
I know, I'm a monster. I'm great. I'm on my second mug of wine, so
fuck
like,
it.
Yeah, you were like, oh, we're doing an AMA, and I was like, boop, 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 boop.
Yep. Yeah, these things are best undertaken a little altered. So I hope everybody out there is good tonight. Listen, we have Lindy is out this week, and Ana wouldn't be joining us till later today, and so we decided that now is a good time to just sit and chat with you guys. Like I said, ask us whatever you like. We'll stick around for an hour-ish, and I don't know, depending on how it goes, we might stay longer, might not. So we've had some questions so far about just sort of the setting stuff. So starting from the top for me, is this setting new for this campaign? If not, have past adventures added to the world, or is it a reset for each new party? This setting is not new, but the catastrophic events that the players find themselves living in the aftermath of are new. This setting used to be a fairly generic D&D trad fantasy world until I trashed it. Rather, the players trashed it. And now the current players sort of live in that world afterwards. So it's kind of a hybrid of both. Let's see. Will we see the dragon worshipping orcs that Jim mentioned in a WebDM video? That it's entirely dependent on the party, where they go and what they do. So
we'll try.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, we did find it, like, presumably a giant dragon's lair that he escaped from. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah.
That's certainly what it seems like.
It does seem like that. That's what
Right.
it seems like.
He at least took everyone out with him if he didn't. So that's fine too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here we go. Oh, I guess we got a couple of duplicate questions. Let's see. Oh, when might we enjoy the various WebDM and or Saber Dice settings in the form of modules? I can't speak about Saber Dice, but for WebDM, it is something that we're working on. But as none of us have ever published anything or really written anything professionally outside of Emma, we are, it's slow going. So we will, keep your eye out here and other places. You guys will know about it when we do have something to offer. We're not going to let you. We're not going to let you slip that by or anything. Anyway, let's see who else is Lang inspired by Kang the Conqueror. I don't know, guys. Is that the Ninja Turtles guy, or is that the Marvel Comics guy?
Yeah, that's
Krang.
Time
brain is mush.
traveling.
Maybe he's inspired by Kull the Conqueror.
A little bit of Cole.
Stuff.
I thought he was a little bit like Destro.
He's a bit like Destro. He's a bit like
Skeleton.
every kind of like questionably tasteful pulp villain that you've ever seen. That's sort of like, is this racist? And then maybe he's like that, but then D&Dified and run through the lens of an 80s kids cartoon. My voice for him in my head is Sebastian Gorka, if you're familiar with that Bond villain.
Oh,
But you're going to see Sebastian the Crab, and I was
It was like, welcome,
definitely racist.
Gildan. I can't do that.
We're not
but-
straddling the
Right.
line anymore.
you got to choose your villains wisely. So
It's like the Raw from Stargate.
yeah,
That's what I think of.
Oh yeah, and the whole
Yeah,
pyramid is
that
the
guy.
Stargate.
Oh
thing.
yeah, that is very Stargate.
I don't come up
That-
with
you
original
guys are
ideas.
bringing me back to my younger days. I used to play hieroglyphics in my spare time, and
I don't really. My DMing style is to take whatever evocative imagery from whatever I find and mash it all together till it starts making sense, and then let the players just kick it around a playground. That's sort of how I like to do it. Let's see. Okay. How do you run large-scale combat? Do you treat squads, platoons, and NPC with hit points representing the numbers of men left in the squad? I don't know. You guys have all DM'd games before. What do y'all think? Large-scale combat. Have y'all ever run one?
I have a rule variant, and I've just released another version. I think, Jim, you might have played with my skirmish rules before.
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I combine a bit from Shadows of the Demon Lord, 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, tips from Sean Merwin, who has written a number of D&D opens. I have a new variant where I've introduced heroic NPCs. Dungeons and Dragons is not designed to support large-scale combat. It's designed to support adventures and skirmishes. In fact, you design adventures. Now, good examples of set-piece battles, pitched battles, meaning a battle where two sides know they're going to meet, are in adventures such as the Red Hand of Doom. Check out War of the Blazing Sky, which was fan created for 3rd edition, and you can see different designers and their takes on large scale battles. Typically, though, you introduce mechanics that are outside of a combat encounter, because a combat encounter is designed for a ratio balance between player character level and ability, items they have, and monsters and their abilities. And there's actual map that goes into that in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So that's kind of sciencey and it's kind of wordy, but getting back to the large scale battles, it's you have to custom design the encounter using mechanics that aren't found in combat traditionally.
Yeah.
Like skill challenges.
I've always handled it with like a complete narrative standpoint, because if the PCs are involved in large scale combat, like if they're like on the front line, then like that's a very intense but very specific kind of combat where it's like round to round and there's limited maneuverability, things like that. But if they're just like part of it, then I say describe everything else that's going on and leave the actions of the individual players, have those pan out, and then everything else can just be described. That's how I've done it before.
Yeah. How about you, TK?
With my hands off.
I usually do, if it's more than like 5 or 6 bad guys coming at them, I'll I roll them in squads. But this recent game that I did with my home game, I let the players describe what they wanted to do for me. And because they were up against like 30 cultists and there were like a ton of clerics and paladins that were helping them and stuff. So it's like, I don't want to roll for all these assholes. So I was like, you guys tell me what you want to do and I'm going to let you roll to succeed at doing it. And depending on how high you roll, that's how cool it's going to fucking look. And it was on a 15 scale. So because they had a lot of backup and stuff, but I really didn't want to look at all these clerics and be like, oh man, I'm going to have all of them roll for aid or not for aid, but like do like sacred flame and stuff. It's a lot. No. So whenever I get to large scale battles, I kind of speed it up into not so much a cutscene. So they don't have any, choice, but I let them make it as cool as they want to be because I don't decide things in large scale battles. So the story isn't decided by a large scale battle. It's really just there for flavor because we're in it's set in a civil war. So there's a lot of political intrigue and the war is not the important part. So I do it mostly for flavor for the story.
Gotcha.
I was going to say, going with that, so I came up running D6 Star Wars, like the West End game Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. West End.
Well, they have great guidance because Star Wars is battles. They have great guidance for and they put it this way. They say, look, the winner of a battle is usually predetermined. Even in real life, you know who's going to win the battle, usually most of the time. They go, but there needs to be key moments for the heroes to change the consequence of the outcome, meaning like, Battle of Hoth, the rebels will always lose. But can they get enough freighters and transports to escape by bringing down the AT-ATs? So there has to be a few moments where the heroes can be heroes. And how you adjudicate that in D&D kind of depends on who's in the party.
Yeah, I've done it several different ways. I've run, notably in my own gaming past, I've run 2 like mass battles that involve like say tens of thousands of people on each side. One of them actually was in 4th edition D&D, where I chose vignettes from the battle that allowed the character to highlight something that was unique about themselves and show a pivotal moment in the battle when they had an opportunity to change something. So like one of the characters was a boar riding dwarven ranger kind of guy. So he's in the front line, front charge. Let's cut to him and see 2 rounds of what he's doing. And then wizards over here on the side, blasting in the flank, that kind of thing. And then the rest of it's just narrative. Sometimes I like a Dynasties Warrior kind of thing where the players are like Sauron from Lord of the Rings and just like wreck and shop. And in that case, I'll do like, this is a mob of soldiers. There's like 40 of them in this group and they all have a pool of hit points. Every 5 HP, one of them is down. Or something. We did
a battle on Encounter Roleplay with 30,000 soldiers.
Yeah,
it's one of the coolest sessions I ran. Like, all the dwarves went insane in a coliseum and just began attacking all the other people watching. And so it was just a brouhaha. It was great. Yeah, it was great.
But there's a system that I've used for Warhammer, which it determines where your characters are, whether in the vanguard, main body, or the rear guard, and then whether they are. What phase of the battle is it? Sort of lets me structure a fight that way. But I don't know. You guys should show up again next week because there's like 500 orcs and drow and lizard folk and whatever bearing down on a magical time traveling pyramid thing. I feel like some of these we could talk about for forever.
Yeah.
Someone's asking me how I feel about after yesterday's Saber Dice. R.I.P. Roscoe. Roscoe, that sucks. I'm very sorry. Pruitt, you're out there. I had a haste coming your way, but you ran away, and then I didn't want to follow.
I heard Will killed him.
Will did not kill him. It was Will was probably responsible for like 4.3%.
Team effort.
It's a team effort. So that sucked, right? But Pruitt is a fountainhead of character ideas, and I trust that he will come up with something to replace Roscoe Threestone if he hasn't already. Let's see. Grant, someone wants to know where your sunglasses are.
I'm not too sure. I was traveling from Origins and I came back and I started a new medication and I don't feel like I need them this week. I want everyone to see these pleading puppies, which all of you. have beautiful long eyelashes. Most
Look at that.
And of course you do.
Look at that.
Make me
Yeah.
sick. That's fine.
There you go.
Cool.
Okay, so here's a
My
good
son
one.
has, too.
Here's we go. Player. So this is for the players. You guys, how did you come up with and develop the concepts for your characters?
Oh Lord.
Oh
Oh no. I don't know. I don't know how Icky kind of became the person that she is. I knew I wanted to play a fat character. Like because you don't see it a lot in fantasy role playing. But I also wanted to play somebody who is large and imposing, and at the same time is so incapable of connecting to other people, but not because of that, just because of the way she was raised, the way that she refused to be when she was an adult. She's got like a lot of issues. I also wanted her to not be evil, because she doesn't really believe in lying. She doesn't believe in hurting things that are not either prey or enemies. But also not be good, because she doesn't have a concept of goodness, because she's a lizard folk. So I came up with a bandit character that leads people into the wastelands to essentially die, and later it turned into to be sacrificed to the amulet that she has. And then she just sells their remains. And a lot has changed. Like, I didn't expect for Icky to latch on to Ellie as much as she did. But I think deep down, Icky maybe didn't always want to be a mother, but always wanted like some kind of concept of family. And she sees like that chance in Ellie. She sees like the idea of killing for, if not good, then for the good of someone else. She would die for Ellie. She would absolutely die for Ellie.
I do love how Ellie has kind of become the
She's
center of the
she's
group
the heart
in a
of
lot
the
of
group.
ways.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, I always wanted to play a fat rogue, as an aside, and I will one day. I just
Rotund rogue.
like,
she's definitely more rogue than ranger.
So you want to play Grant Ellis?
it's like all those old school. I'm thinking of like Disney's Robin Hood.
Yes.
And like the corrupt, not Little John, the other guy, the bad guy,
The Sheriff of Nottingham.
the sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
I love him.
He's a big fat rogue, and
Yeah, he's
I
a-
love
that character.
Badger.
Yeah.
I love him.
You're getting mighty preachy.
So like Baloo's a big chunk. I don't think I emphasize it enough. But Baloo has a 10 strength. That's with a +2. Baloo is like weak and fat, but he's cuddly.
He's cuddly.
And originally I wanted to make a barbarian, but then when I saw that Ana was making Ellie a barbarian, I decided to switch and go this route.
A bugbarian.
A bugbarian. I like legit was kind of hoping somebody would make a character named Mowgli as soon as I chose Baloo as a name. But nobody took the bite.
That's all right. For a second I thought there was going to be 2 barbarians in the party, and I was going to be like, shit, the fights are going to be damn.
Joke's on you. It's not barbarians ripping people in half.
Right. No, it is.
but I was also going to do a Beastmaster Ranger, and for my animal companion, it would be a human. But then that had to go out the window when Ellie came along too. So Ana kind of ruined my initial 2 plans. But that's okay.
A leashed up human.
Yeah, like
follows
with like a little red loincloth, and it's like Mowgli, come here, this guy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna teach you how to be a strong cub.
Well,
so
we would have just had to tackle that head on.
It would have been problematic.
So I'm not a great role player. I never have been, and I don't really do character arts.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's because I'm not. I'm ridiculous. I'm not a great role player, meaning I've played with great role players. There is a gap. But what I am good is I'm good at caricatures. I'm a good puppeteer. And if you are a Muppeteer, like you work for the Jim Henson Company, normally what they do is they teach you to find the one thing that embodies the spirit of the Muppet. For example, Fozzie Bear is a vaudeville comedian. Miss Piggy is a truck driver that thinks she's a woman. Elmo embodies love. With Gildan, so all my characters embody one thing, and Gildan is literally my 5-year-old son. And his voice is more like my doctor who's from India and lived there until like 2 years ago. And he practiced in Japan for 20 years. So he's kind of this interesting individual who's highly educated, but kind of has this unique mannerism about him. Almost mystical, right? So Gildan is just my 5-year-old son, and my 5-year-old son loves Dungeons and Dragons. He loves being a something. But I try to pick up on just the loneliness of a child of the waste, a loneliness. I mean, Gildan was raised by Baba Yaga and then abandoned and wandered the waste for most of his life. And but he's really, I just find that one thing that I latch onto in it. And normally I spend no more than 20 seconds thinking about what my character is going to be and then commit to that. So Jim was like, so what are you going to play? I was like, a cleric that's been tarred and feathered and run out of town consistently. And then it evolved into, because he's an agitator and he's a troublemaker. And then he's coming with like, what was it? Like armadillo treats or whatever.
The first adventure.
Ridiculous. But yeah. So that's how I come up with a character. I find the one thing. He's my son.
Funny.
I think they're all great, and I like how they have evolved from the initial, the initial concepts into the characters that they are. Yeah, and how the party kind of comes and gels together. Because in a lot of ways, I made the setting of the trade town and the fellowship were sort of supposed to be central, and then I looked at the characters who had come together, and I was like, well, none of them are particularly. They're either not from here, or if they're from here, they're kind of like, yeah, screw this place. And so I was like, my first impulse was to be like, well, let's just threaten it and see what happens. And the opportunity was like, you guys could have run, could have been like, screw this place. But it seemed as though like sticking around was maybe important to some of the characters, and like coming together as a group over it was really cool. So I really loved how they've come together, and like I wanted a campaign where we can sit and take time and sort of hang out with characters for a while now.
Yeah.
So let's see here. I'm gonna get through as many of these as possible because I don't know how much longer I have. Let's see here. Who does the assets such as maps, background music, and intro? I draw some of the maps. This one right here that you're seeing is from Nate at WASD 20. That's a map I commissioned from him. He drew for the setting. You can check out a really cool video on his YouTube channel of him drawing it, sort of like time-lapsed, and how he goes through the whole process of it. It's really cool. But like the ones that are just like, here are some squares from the top. That's me. That's like all me. That's the extent of my mapping skills. But and then Brandon, of course, War Eagle Keep does our like switching between the different overlays you see and doing the music and stuff like that. And then our producer Travis cut together the intro that you see. So it's WebDM's a team effort that way. Just how many Jim Davis worlds has Pruitt destroyed? Well, it wasn't Pruitt who destroyed him. It was another player. And it's only been 2 or 3. Let's see. Another question for the players. Did you all change the way you think about your characters for this game differently because they are monstrous races?
You think I would have a half-elf getting hobos to fight over cutting each other's molars out for some crumpled up pieces of paper?
Oh my goodness.
The thing that drives a lot of Icky's is that she is a lizard folk, and they are so completely different from other sentient races. She doesn't think past a couple days. So like in the beginning, she was totally like, yes, I'll follow Myrrh. Myrrh saved me. Yes, I'm gonna do this. 2 days later, she didn't give a fuck about Myrrh. They all came and rescued her from hell. She was like, hell yeah, we're best friends. 2 days later, fuck you guys. Let's go find some nonsense in a cavern. And it's pretty much been Gildan and Ellie that have been like the main yes, this is how everything is, like either how she reacts to Gildan or how she reacts to Ellie. And then kind of Myrrh and Baloo are on the sidelines because for whatever reason, Gildan and Ellie make Icky think about the future beyond a couple days more. And it's either, you know, I have to stop Gildan from killing himself because she does feel like a weird kinship there, as he's the only person that she's known from the wastes for such a long time, or I have to protect Ellie from killing herself because she's small and frail and doesn't eat anything. And so she can't read or write. She doesn't know what money is. And none of that is really something that I could put into a character that wasn't really a monstrous race, because lizard folk are so completely different. So different.
Yeah.
Gildan
definitely.
wasn't, I was going to say, Gildan wasn't raised with other goblins, so he does not, outside of his biology, he is more of just whatever he picked up from the spirits of the waste, right? So I play him like a lonely child, and that's what I try to grasp onto. And the reason I do that is it's the only way I feel any of the other players will ever have any empathy for him, as well as the audience, because he's such a jerk, right? He's bad. He's horrible, and like, but there's that little bit of empathy.
That's what Baloo likes him, is that he's horrible, not that he's good.
Somebody has to. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not kind. But even like Icky even like likes him, doesn't hate him. Just like, I mean, if you're gonna kill yourself, don't take all of us down with you. But these other assholes are content to go find you. So.
I'm trying to play him kind of like Ice King from Adventure Time, where for him. But
that's really sweet.
Yeah.
So like with Baloo, I tried to I try to take the I read through the entries in a couple of the books for the Bugbear, and the big things that stood out is they're aggressive and they're lazy, but they're also like really sneaky. And so I took those and I like domesticated them. So like, you know, he grew up with like cultists and arcanists who like celebrate their aggression and their power, but he didn't have that power. He didn't cast magic. He was kind of pushed around and turned into a servant, and so that side of him is kind of still there, but then it's now bubbling up now. But his laziness, as soon as he got to be a member of the fellowship, he got fat. He sits around and he eats like this beautiful food that grows off of these green and brown things, and he just doesn't do anything. And his sneakiness is his, you know, he doesn't really care about the system. He's part of the fellowship, but he'll gladly betray the fellowship if it's going to get him something. And so it's kind of a weird combo. I'm still developing Baloo. I'm still kind of waiting for Baloo to become his own. And I don't know, maybe he just needs to get married and settle down, and that's the only way that he's going to really find his purpose.
Man, that's possible. I like the shift in Baloo, sort of, you know, abandoning his fellowship training, but not necessarily his connection with the land. It's pretty, I like that. And we appreciate the sub, Terra Noctis. Let's see what other questions we've got. Here's a question that I kind of had, was like one of the things that I wanted out of the setting for myself was like a chance for the non-traditional fantasy races to be showcased as the centerpiece of the setting, not just like of the party, but like all those dwarves and elves and humans and shit. They screw this place up. Like they are responsible for why the world is the way it is, and like all of those other races who were marginalized, pushed to the side. Like in my view, it's like orcs are just people that have a shitty god, and people won't stop fucking with them. And so, like, if you get rid of the shitty god and you get rid of all the people that are fucking with them, what would orcs be like? And that's kind of a setting that I wanted to explore and give players the opportunity to play like non-standard monstrous races if they wanted, so that they could go like, yeah, I don't have to play the brutish, angry orc. I can play whatever kind of orc I want, or any other kind of race for that matter. So it was like a deliberate design decision on my part, and I'm really glad the players took it and ran with it.
So Jim, what you're saying though is that it's definitely more of a nurture versus nature thing.
This is my personal view of it. I don't like absolute alignments, particularly not for mortals. We're talking about celestials and fiends. That's another matter. But for mortals, I do think a choice is in order. And it's just all the evil humanoids in D&D have just such shitty gods. Like,
they do.
It's like, geez, read Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Like, they're all just crappy to. I mean, in that way, they're very godlike, right? It's very mythic that way. They're all shitheads. But the best thing that could happen to all of them is for the gods to disappear. And so that's hence the Land Between Two Rivers. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Let's see, what else do we have? How do you effectively roleplay a human who is grown in a glass jar? Well, I guess Anna's not here, but that was an interesting.
They built her from parts.
They built her from spare parts.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. This is going to be something that I hope we get a chance to play through.
So into it
because I don't know.
Yes.
Ellie's backstory. I know a little bit that Anna's told me, so I'm hoping that we can dig into it at some point.
That would be absolutely fun to kind of like go through what her childhood was like, and what that means to be kind of, artificial. It's the Frankenstein story, and I want to see her take on it.
But like, why was she built for battle? Like,
because she specifically is an ass kicker.
And not only that, like, she's built for battle, but she's not built for battle in the same way that the servitors are, where it's like a whole horde. Like, it's just her as far as we know. So that's like weird, right?
And one of the things, and so as a DM, when Anna was like, here's my character, and I noticed that Ellie had an 8 con, and she chose instead to put her second highest in charisma. And I was immediately like, this is great. Like, there's
I love it.
There's something about this, and that combined with the soldier background suggested a lot of things about Ellie that maybe she doesn't know about herself. That maybe this whoever created her didn't need soldiers but a general of some kind. And so that's where my head was at. That was what immediately was like, oh my god. And then there's a nice sort of thing of like, why does she have an 8 con if she was a created being? And
it's like, if she's lost, like if she left, who's looking for her? Is anyone looking for her?
I know.
Who
knows?
I'm
so into it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, there's so many questions.
There are a lot of questions.
I know.
So anyway, hopefully, and that's hopefully what we get a chance to do. I was like I'm gonna ramble for a second because it's what I do. Like, I didn't used to make such player and character focused games. I used to be one of those DMs where it's like, here's my world. If you like, I don't have a plot, but it's like, here it is. Like, we can do something, and then something will happen. Players will mess with something, consequences, dominoes into a campaign. But like, over the years, pulling in character background stuff has been one of those things where I was like, why didn't I do this years ago? And like, so many games make sense if what you do is like wait to do everything until after the characters have been created, and you're like, now I know like players have told me what kind of game they want. Let's make it. And so it's fun.
If there's one thing that I love, it's whenever I have a warlock in my party in my home game, and I was like, who's your patron? And he was like, I don't really know. And I was like, if you don't figure out your patron by like the 3rd game, I will choose for you. You can choose what kind of patron it is. Like, you could choose if it's like an old one or an archfey or anything like that.
Yeah.
But if I got to pick, you're not going to find out till mid-story, and it's going to be fucking awesome.
But like, the funnest part about the warlock is being able to make this powerful NPC
What he told me was that he feels like his character made pacts with like several patrons.
Ooh. Like a
And
Constantine
so,
thing.
and like would just like whichever one was the one that answered was the one that he was using. And
That's
I was
cool.
like, okay. And I give him like little things to
That's cool.
There's a focus and cipher system,
spread
the
some
Herald of a
from
Thousand Gods,
Yeah.
which is like
Cool.
that, where it's like you represent 1,000 minor gods, and they've like formed a union, and they need a herald to
That's
represent
awesome.
them. Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That's really cool.
seriously.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Speaking. Okay, guys. Who is your favorite PC? That isn't your character in The Land Between Two Rivers?
That isn't me. Mer.
Mer.
100% Mer.
Mine's I
Sorry,
like
guys.
Mer. I got a thing for her.
Mer. Mer is like, and Lindy's just fucking on it. Like she'll, like you're just like, and what's Mer doing? And Lindy's like, beep, 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 beep. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Next
man.
level. Next level.
How?
Yeah.
It's like she was,
Of all the
like she was
PCs,
created.
though,
to do
like,
it.
yeah, like I still picture my head like Icky trying to make up to Gildan, and she like picks up the severed scalp. Or when she first took out her dentures, it's like, gee, the little character things. But yeah,
Yeah. No.
Hot mess.
Icky's my favorite.
Aw.
Yeah, because like I've like I've like fallen in love with all these characters, but like Icky, when you read the entry for the Lizard Folk, and I've gotten several ideas from it of characters that I would want to make that I haven't made yet, but Icky's very unique, but she feels like 100% Lizard Folk. She's like primal, but there's still enough intelligence there that this is not a beast. This is something that has like a concepts of culture, concepts of civilization, but it totally approaches it differently.
I feel that way a lot about Mer. How Mer is like she's half drow and then a tiefling as well, half fiend or whatever. But like it's so easy to just like kind of pass it off as the sexy, exotic bard, but there's like enough variation in her character being like lawful evil or whatever Mer is, that you're kind of like, yeah, she is the sexy bard, but like you kind of have to watch more to get it. Like, it's weird.
Mer's
like
playing a long game, I suspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
interrogating that one dude, and she's just like, "I'm just gonna dissonant whispers him, and I also rolled a 23. So what the fuck are you gonna do about it?"
Yeah, I don't think this is like spoilers or anything necessarily, but I'm doing portraits for all the characters, and hers is the one that I'm kind of like going back and forth on, because there are aspects of Mer's personality that can show up in different ways. Like yeah, she's sexy, so I could vamp it up and do like this very like sexual, alluring photo. But at the same time, she's also like really cheeky, and then she also has like ulterior motives. And then the way that Lindy does her voice, I also kind of get this like evil mom vibe from her, And so it's like
mom.
Like putting that all into one has been a challenge, but I'm enjoying it. As far as the art.
Yeah, we're looking forward to showing those off once we're done. We want to do a big reveal of all of them at once, so they are on their way. Josh is hard at work. I, of course, am not going to tell who my favorite is of all the players, because like every good parent, I have no favorite. You are all my lovely children.
The checks in the middle. It was clearly Gildan. All right, moving.
That's why he gets all those solo scenes all the time.
Oh, I fucking knew it.
That's it.
Yeah.
How does anyone get fat in the Land Between Two Rivers? Because they've got druids, man.
Yeah,
like that's the whole point. Is in the apocalypse, whoever has druids is gonna be fine.
Like plant growth is such a powerful spell. Like
I can produce food. I can produce like 100 pounds of food a day.
Yeah. So you there's still magic, right? This is still Dungeons and Dragons, and there's the littered ruins of prior magical civilizations like just out there for the taking. So there's plenty of magic, as well as we've seen some technology as well. So there's plenty of ways to get fat. It's just like most people in the land between two rivers, they live on the periphery of this druid-controlled land. So they get the food from there, but they don't want to live by the Fellowship's laws. The Fellowship's fine with this arrangement, and that's how it happens. But if you live in Trade Town, they just bring the food right to you.
Yeah. In Icky's case, Icky every like 3 or 4 days will go out and like gorge herself, led by the amulet. The amulet will lead Icky to food, and Icky will eat like way past what she's supposed to. So she's actually sustained by the amulet, which feeds her and makes sure that she gets fed. She's also super lazy. So, well, as lazy as you can be in the waist.
Gildan's not fat. He's
big old fatty.
Gildan is pretty
Yeah,
swole.
yeah. Gildan
There's like
really good strength. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
So that's how that happens. Did I expect them to defend Trade Town and endure the siege occupation? No, not particularly. I didn't expect them to do anything. I've learned a long time to not really expect anything from players, because then you just subconsciously, steer. I like to see what they do, and so I like to pose open-ended problems with no good solution, like an invading army of technologically superior foes. How do you want to handle it? And so that's it. It means that you have to kind of stay one step ahead of the players, but that's what makes DMing fun for me. So that's why I like it. Let's see. We got just a little bit more. Now I've lost a thread of the question. Let's see.
In the meantime, Grant. So speaking of food, let's say down the road that Gildan and Baloo do settle down, right?
Let's ship this real quick.
I'm imagining in the middle of a desert a beautiful farm. I'm imagining that daily Baloo gets up and casts plant growth and create water, and Gildan has his miracles that he works. So we just have this beautiful farm. It's an oasis that we created from scratch. We strengthen the earth below it by letting that water seep in. It's verdant, and it's going to be a place where we could raise
somewhere
kids.
That's green.
Yeah, somewhere that's green where we could raise kids.
What is the name of this fan fiction?
Little House on the Wasteland.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Gildan of Green Gables.
Yes, Gildan of Green Gables. I like it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's some like horrible secret there. What is it? I don't want to continue this fanfic because it's going to be like
oh no, I
knew I could do it, Todd Downey said as he helped himself to another ear of corn from the steaming bowl. I'm sure in time her death will become a mystery, even to me. And like, I don't want to say Ellie's body, but maybe Mers. I don't know. Buried beneath the cornfield.
No.
Sorry.
Baloo, plain and tall.
Baloo, plain and tall.
I don't.
Can't even.
TK, you can write this. You can do it.
I could. I haven't written erotica in a really long time. But
there you go.
Probably. Oh, it's not erotica though. It's probably a fluff piece. So
it's definitely fluff. Yeah. No, the hard stuff's not for her.
There's a lot of shower scenes.
Yeah.
It's like every 80s movie.
Gilbo Baldwin. What is it?
Gildo Baldwin.
Gildo
Swolden right now.
Yeah.
Gildo Baldwin in the unhinged jaw.
Yeah. It's getting pretty blue, and I love it. I love it.
Oh shit. All right.
I'm crying a little. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Someone asks how high tech was the setting pre-apocalypse. It's fuzzy for a reason. I wanted it to be science fantasy in tone, but still recognizably D&D. I didn't want the casting of spells to seem weird or like, how do I justify this? There's fucking magic. That's why. But at the same time, if I wanted to introduce a laser gun, I could, because that's cool. And, so here's the real answer, and it's that this world is not experiencing its time linearly, and so things that have happened in the past were actually the future, and their relics are left behind, that kind of thing. That's the sort of overarching what's going on with the world kind of cosmic level threat problem.
Oh my god, it's like Battlestar Galactica. Oh, spoilers for Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Oh, wow, that is a spoiler.
My bad, man.
That's all right. It's like 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
Statute of limitations.
I've only seen season 1.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that.
You shouldn't. Yeah. No, we can share our opinions about BSG.
Yeah.
The first 2 seasons are really great.
Okay.
Second, 3 and 4 have their moments, but they drag.
Yeah. When they found out they were getting canceled, it was kind of like, angels.
Yeah.
Spoilers, angels and Battlestar Galactica.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.
But Ancient Aliens is a fun story, even if it's not real.
Yeah. Just like Indiana Jones and Crystal Skull.
It's just like the Flat Earth.
No, don't say that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Don't say Crystal Skull.
Up through the
with the old gods gone, right? With the old gods gone, has the pantheon repopulated completely with new gods, or is the pantheon still in flux? I am always and forever a fan of petty godlings in my D&D. I like little ones that can grant a modicum of divine power to one servant or something, or just this is the god of the river or of the east wind or something. So I like that. So there's probably a lot of that. There's probably also a lot of monsters that just tell the terrified people that they terrorize that they're gods and are thus worshipped. You know, so life for most people out in the wastelands is not pleasant, and there's a lot of like monsters out there who are just like, yeah, there's nobody around to stop me. I'm a god. Deal with it. So that's the situation. But like Zeus and Ilmater and whoever else, they left a long time ago. They left. They abandoned this place.
Got in their spaceships.
They got in their they out of here. Anyway, they burned out. They were like, screw it. Anyway, I have to go. It is a short evening for me, but we're gonna have to do one of these again, hopefully with the full crew, and sit with you guys for longer to just hang out and talk shop. And
maybe post pyramid.
Post pyramid. I'm curious to see. We are coming to a bit of a climax here with this pyramid attack, so I'm really excited. We do have an announcement for you guys. Stay tuned, not on this channel, but on another Twitch channel known as Geek and Sundry, for a little announcement on Critical Role. We have a game coming up, and I think you'll like what they have to say about it. And also tune in on Sunday when our communications director, Emma Lambert, will be running Escape from Flavortown for a crew of some really awesome players.
Oh, yeah.
And the behind the scenes work on this, every time I see Emma prep for it, she can't stop laughing. So
it's ridiculous. It's wonderful.
If that's any indication, then we're going to have a great time on Sunday. And yeah, so check it out, and we will see you guys next week, where we gear up for some action on this pyramid over here. Guys, parting words, final thoughts, whatever you want before we head out.
I'm gonna start streaming Twitch Creative soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nervous as hell, but if you want to be there and check me out, follow me on Twitter, and I'll probably be posting a schedule there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny and weird, and I'm gonna talk to myself because no one's gonna show up the first time. That's okay.
I'll be there.
Okay.
Good.
No.
Just hang out with whoever shows up.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And it's gonna be fun. I think I'm going to I've been wanting to do an old school like first edition style, gritty black and white drawing.
Love it.
I think I'm going to do a gnarly wizard and his gnarly spell books. I think it's going to be my first one.
Sweet.
Awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Sweet.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm running the Queen of Spiders campaign on the Greyhawk channel tomorrow night. I'm also going to do 10 days of charity games where I'm running about 20 games for over 100 people. On my Twitch channel, I'm raising money to provide relief for victims of domestic violence. And I have some pretty cool projects coming down the pipeline with a new game that recently is shipping from Monty Cook Games, and secrets will be revealed.
Dun dun dun.
Eyebrows. So when you guys are done watching Flavortown, go over to the D&D Twitch channel and check out Hell's Bells, which I'll be in with my terrible Disney prince, my precious boy who just wants to be a knight, but he ends up in Sigil for no reason.
Oh no!
We won't stand for this oppression.
Oh yes,
That's gonna be fun.
He's a good boy. Yeah, we just started doing our promo stuff. You can see all the promo stuff on, or most of it, on the Hell's Bells Twitter, and there's links to like the little Discord and the Reddit or whatever that they made, which we didn't make. It's fan run, but it's still fun. It's still cool. And you can see me and my trash children friends. It's gonna be me. Mazmataz is DMing. Lisa Chen is in it. Kayla is in it. Shauna is in it. You'll know them both from the Encounter roleplay Star Wars game. Hadil is in it. You'll know her from Trapped in the Birdcage. And Holly Conrad is in it.
Oh, nice.
Which I put that one at the end because like you guys would stop listening. If I put her first, you'd be like, "Holy shit!"
Oh yeah,
Holly Conrad in a game by herself. I'm there, but no, she'll be there, and it's cool.
That's awesome.
We're all very excited.
Exactly.
That's really gonna be fun. That's really gonna be fun. That's awesome. And then I'm gonna be in a charity game this Saturday on I'm not sure what channel, Grant, I'm gonna be
Grant
on.
R. Ellis on
Oh, it's
Twitch.
gonna be your channel. Yes.
That's
Where I'll be. Playing some kind of, well, you're gonna have to show up to figure out what I'm playing if you want to see me.
I hope we just turn it into like your cast is a really funny cast. Like it has some great players where I'm just gonna be like, this is quickly gonna get out of hand.
It's gonna get out of hand.
I suggest you to make it get as out of hand as possible.
I hope y'all are dinosaur racing.
Oh my god!
Get off some dinosaur racing.
In fact, they will be the dinosaurs racing through a town trying to eat as many people as possible.
Yeah. Hungry dinos. Sweet. All right, guys. We really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, asking some questions, and just chilling. We will see you next week, and we hope to also see you this weekend at our various gigs and appearances and the like. If not, just have a great weekend and be good to each other and shit. See you later.
Yeah, definitely.